Hello, fellow gardeners. Welcome back to Smart Garden, where we're always digging deeper into nature's best-kept secrets to help you grow the garden of your dreams. Today, I'm thrilled to share something that's going to completely transform the way you think about weed control and soil health. What if I told you the key to a flourishing, weed-free garden isn't endless weeding, but something you actually plant? This isn't just about smothering weeds, it's about building soil health from the ground up naturally. Get ready to discover the green secret that will revolutionize your gardening approach and save you countless hours of backbreaking work. If you've been gardening for any length of time, you know that weeds are persistent, opportunistic, and seemingly endless in their determination to colonize every bare patch of soil. Hand-pulling works temporarily, but it's exhausting, and many weeds simply regenerate from root fragments left behind. Mulching with wood chips or straw provides a barrier, but it can harbor weed seeds, eventually breaks down requiring constant replenishment, and doesn't address underlying soil health. Landscape fabric prevents natural soil enrichment, can suffocate beneficial organisms, and eventually weeds find their way through anyway. These conventional methods treat symptoms rather than addressing the root cause, leaving us in a perpetual cycle of reactive weed management. But what if there was a proactive approach that not only suppresses weeds, but simultaneously builds vibrant, healthy soil? Enter green manure, the game-changing strategy that professional farmers have used for centuries, and home gardeners are now rediscovering with remarkable enthusiasm. Green manure refers to specific plants grown not for harvest, but specifically to benefit your soil. These are dynamic, fast-growing plants with extensive root systems that work both above and below the soil surface to create conditions where weeds simply cannot compete. When you plant green manure crops, you're deploying living allies that outcompete weeds for light, water, and nutrients. Fast-germinating species like annual ryegrass, field peas, crimson clover, and hairy vetch establish themselves rapidly, often sprouting within days and quickly forming a dense canopy that shades out weed seedlings before they can gain a foothold. Below ground, their aggressive root systems colonize the soil space, intercepting moisture and nutrients that would otherwise fuel weed growth. This creates a living mulch effect that's far superior to traditional mulches because it's actively growing and competing rather than passively sitting on the surface. The visual transformation is striking. Where you once saw bare soil inviting every opportunistic weed seed, you now see a lush emerald carpet of purposefully planted vegetation. Legumes like clover and vetch create low, spreading mats with nitrogen-fixing nodules on their roots. Grasses like rye and oats grow upright with dense, fibrous root systems that improve soil structure dramatically. Brassicas like mustard and radish produce broad leaves and deep taproots that break up compacted soil layers. Together, these plants form an impenetrable barrier against weeds, while working underground magic that conventional mulches simply cannot replicate. Understanding when and how to plant green manure is crucial for maximizing its weed-suppressing power. Fall planting of cold-hardy species like winter rye, hairy vetch, or crimson clover allows these plants to establish before winter, then surge with growth in early spring before your main crops go in. Spring and summer green manures like buckwheat, field peas, or oats grow rapidly during warm weather to fill gaps between crop rotations, maturing in as little as 6 to 8 weeks. The planting process is refreshingly straightforward. Start with a prepared bed where you've removed existing established weeds, because green manure works by prevention rather than elimination of already mature weeds. Broadcasting is the typical seeding method, where you scatter seeds evenly across the bed surface at the recommended rate, generally between 1 to 3 ounces per 100 square feet. After broadcasting, lightly rake the seeds into the top quarter to half inch of soil. Water thoroughly to initiate germination, and within days you'll see the first green shoots emerging, with full coverage typically achieved within 2 to 3 weeks. The critical moment is the chop and drop or incorporation stage. You must terminate your green manure before it goes to seed, ideally when plants reach their peak vegetative growth, but before flowers fully develop. This timing ensures maximum biomass for soil incorporation, while preventing your beneficial cover crop from becoming tomorrow's weed problem. For most species, this means cutting when plants are roughly ankle to knee height and just beginning to flower. Using a sharp spade, scythe, string trimmer, or lawnmower, cut the plants down to just above soil level. You then have two options. Dig the cut material into the top 10 to 25 centimeters of soil for rapid decomposition, or chop it finely and leave it on the surface as a nutrient-rich mulch layer using the no-till approach. The waiting period after incorporation is where patience becomes essential. Fresh green manure contains compounds that can temporarily inhibit seed germination, so you must allow 4 to 6 weeks for decomposition before planting. During this period, the cut green manure transforms into rich humus, feeding billions of soil organisms that further suppress weed germination through their biological activity. This also allows any weed seeds brought to the surface during digging to germinate, which you can then easily remove before your main crop planting. While weed suppression might be your primary motivation, the additional benefits are so substantial that many gardeners continue the practice primarily for soil improvement. Green manure roots physically penetrate compacted soil layers, creating channels that improve drainage in clay soils while increasing water retention in sandy soils. When these roots decompose, they leave behind organic matter throughout the soil profile, creating the crumbly texture that every gardener dreams of achieving. The fertility boost from green manure represents real savings on expensive fertilizer purchases. Leguminous green manures host specialized bacteria that convert atmospheric nitrogen into plant-available forms, essentially pulling free fertilizer from the air. When incorporated, these nitrogen-rich plants can completely eliminate the need for synthetic nitrogen fertilizers in subsequent crops. Deep roots of certain species mine nutrients from subsoil layers that shallow-rooted vegetable crops cannot access, bringing these minerals up into the root zone where your crops can benefit. The biological activity stimulated by green manure creates a living soil ecosystem that actively resists weed establishment. Beneficial fungi and bacteria that proliferate when feeding on decomposing green manure occupy ecological niches that might otherwise support weed growth. Earthworm populations often triple or quadruple compared to unmulched beds, creating additional drainage channels and producing castings that contain compounds suppressing certain weed species naturally. This biological approach works synergistically with physical suppression, creating multiple barriers that dramatically reduce weed pressure over successive seasons. The simplicity and effectiveness of green manure make it accessible to every gardener, regardless of experience level or garden size. You don't need special equipment or expensive inputs. What you need is a willingness to think differently about what grows in your garden during downtime, viewing every bare bed as an opportunity. The investment is minimal, with a pound of green manure seed typically costing less than $10 and covering several hundred square feet, while the returns in reduced weeding time and improved soil health compound year after year. Start by assessing your garden's rhythm and identifying windows of opportunity. Perhaps you have beds that sit empty from fall through early spring, or sections temporarily out of production during the growing season. Start small if the concept feels unfamiliar, dedicating just 1 or 2 beds as an experiment. Source your seeds from reputable suppliers, choosing untreated organic seed when possible. Common mistakes to avoid include planting too late in the season, allowing green manures to go to seed, and planting your next crop too soon after incorporation. The transformation won't happen overnight, but you'll notice differences remarkably quickly. Within the first season, you'll see reduced weed pressure. By the second season, the cumulative effect becomes dramatic, with weed populations declining substantially. Year 3 and beyond, you'll spend a fraction of the time weeding compared to your previous routine. If you found this guide valuable and want to continue receiving practical science-based gardening strategies, subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell. Share your weed management challenges and solutions in the comments below, and if you know a fellow gardener struggling with persistent weeds, share this video with them. Together, we're building a community of smarter, more sustainable gardeners who work with nature rather than against it. Now get out there and start your green manure revolution. Your weed-free future awaits.